Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's a long time no see. I think the last time I recorded a video may have been like pre-COVID, so yeah, sorry about that. But all that matters is that I am back and hopefully I'm here to stay. So this case that I'm going to cover is like so highly requested, it's actually a joke. I can't even begin to tell you how many people love this case and are so fascinated with this case. And it's not just people that follow me, it's literally taken over the whole internet for the past 14 years. I was actually really reluctant to cover it because it is so much work, more than any other case I've really looked into. There's so much on the internet and so much has happened with it, and there's been so many bits of news that turned out to be dead ends, and it's just a nightmare of a case. But that case is the Madeleine McCann case. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to structure it in 5 separate videos. So this first part is going to be about the plot and the early evidence in the case. Part 2 is going to be the later evidence in the case and the later suspects. Part 3 is going to be the theories. Part 4 is going to be my opinion on the case. And then part 7 is going to be the conclusion.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And then part 5 is going to be the conclusion. Make sure you turn on the little bell so you get notifications when part 2 is up, because it's going to be a very interesting set of videos. So without further hesitation, let's get into it. Madeleine Beth McCann was a happy and vivacious 3-year-old. She was born on May 12, 2003 in Leicester. She had blonde hair, bluey-green eyes and a fair complexion. One signature thing that you could always identify Madeleine by was the fact that she had a little brown mark on the right of her eye. She was the daughter of Kate and Jerry McCann, both of which were qualified medical professionals, with Kate being a GP and Jerry being a cardiologist. Quite often with these career choices comes good pay, so I think it's fairly safe to assume that Madeleine had a fairly middle-class upbringing. Madeleine also had 2 younger siblings who happened to be twins, named Sean and Amelie. Kate and Jerry would later come to describe their family as the perfect nuclear family of 5. They would often travel together as a family and were very active and close-knit. It's been noted on various different occasions that Madeleine was a very confident child. She was very social and had no trouble making friends. As in, if someone was to come up and speak to her, she would reply without hesitation. On Saturday the 28th of April 2007, a couple of weeks before Madeleine's 4th birthday, the McCann family went on a holiday that would change their lives forever. They flew to Praia da Luz in Portugal, where they met up with a few friends, some of which also happened to be medical professionals. Praia da Luz has the nickname of Little Britain. This is because so many Brits go on holiday there. So it's safe to say that this is a pretty touristy area where they are going on holiday to. The apartment they were staying in was apartment 5A in the Ocean Club, just shorter than a week into the holiday, on the 3rd of May 2007. Around 8:30, Madeleine's parents went to dinner with their friends being the Tapas 7, but I'll talk about them a bit later. When they went to dinner, they left Madeleine and her 2 siblings in the apartment and were planning on checking in on them every half an hour. The friends they were meeting up with also had children and were also doing the same. The restaurant was around 160 feet from the apartment, so not really that far. So this is where it begins. At 9:05, Jerry conducted the first check-in of the night. After noting that all was well because the children were asleep, he returned to the restaurant. At around 9:30, one of the parents the McCanns were dining with offered to go and check in on Madeleine and the twins. This was because he was also checking on his own children. He peered into the apartment to check for any noise and heard nothing, so left to go back to the table. At 10 p.m, Kate McCann went to do the next check on the children. However, it was upon this check Madeleine was discovered missing. Kate immediately ran out of the apartment into the restaurant, screaming, "Madeleine's gone, somebody has taken her." The police were alerted roughly 10 minutes later by reception. So let's dive in deeper to the night of Madeleine's disappearance, starting with the apartment. The apartment was located on the edge of the Ocean Club Resort and was privately owned by a retired teacher from Liverpool. As you can see, it's within quite close proximity to the restaurant in which the McCanns were dining. However, just how much of the apartment could you see? So this is a photo of the view the McCanns would have had from the restaurant. You can see the top of the apartment. However, the access points aren't visible, so if someone were to have snuck into the apartment and taken Madeleine, nobody would have known, and the parents would have been none the wiser. The apartment was on the ground floor, and there were 2 points that made the apartment accessible. The first is the patio doors, which was facing the tapas bar, and then the front door, which was around the rear of the property. This, however, was accessible by the main road. The front door on the main road was actually kept locked. However, the patio doors were only able to be locked from the inside. So in order for the parents to conduct their checks, they left the patio doors unlocked, shut, but still unlocked. A couple of other things to be noted about the apartment at the earlier stages in the investigation is that during the first check conducted by Jerry at 9:05 p.m, roughly half an hour after they had left, he noted that the door to the room in which the children were sleeping was wide open, when before they left it was open maybe a tiny weeny bit, just like a little crack. But now it was almost completely ajar. Suspicious, he peered in and all was well, so he left and went back to the restaurant. On the 9:30 check, which was carried out by the friend who offered to check on Madeleine and the twins whilst he was checking on his own children, he noted that upon entering the apartment, the children's bedroom door was once again wide open. However, at the time, it was completely understandable how this isn't something you would know was off. It definitely wouldn't have seemed a big deal at the time. He also didn't actually check the room, he just listened for any sounds, and he heard no sounds, so he went back to the restaurant. During the 10 p.m. check conducted by Kate, although in a total state of shock as expected when any parent were to lose their child, she noted that upon trying to open the children's bedroom door, the wind blew it shut, as though a window were open. Further to realising this, she peered in the room, and that's when she discovered the window and the shutter were wide open, and that's when she realised Madeleine had been taken. Another thing to note that isn't so relevant to the apartment, but generally the complex, is that upon booking the restaurant table, staff had written in the publicly accessible diary that the children would be sleeping in the apartments alone. So that's why the parents required the same table for the last 4 nights of their holiday. The key point in that is that it's accessible to the public, so anyone could have read that and knew that the children were left alone in the apartment. Now, let's look into the Tapas 7. The Tapas 7 were the 7 friends the McCanns were dining with that evening. The group comprised of Fiona and David Payne, Diane Webster, Jane Tanner, Russell O'Brien, and Matthew and Rachel Oldfield. In total, there were 9 adults dining that evening, and 8 children in their respective apartments, including the McCann children. Throughout the evening, the 7 were dipping in and out of the meal to go and check on the children. However, David Payne was the only person other than the McCanns to go into the McCann apartment, which was the 9:30 check-in I previously spoke about. Around 9:05 p.m, Jane Tanner left to check on her child. This was around the same time as Jerry's first check. Tanner recalled seeing Jerry talking to a fellow holidaymaker, Jeremy. She also noticed a man carrying a young girl in pink pajamas. She obviously didn't think anything of it at the time, as this wouldn't have been uncommon at a resort. Like, you often get parents carrying their children around to bed once they've fallen asleep at dinner, and it's just generally not an uncommon sight for a resort with loads of holidaymakers. This leads me into a chat about potential sightings on the night. This case in particular has a lot of evidence which has turned out to be a massive letdown. Jane Tanner's initial sighting of the man carrying the child in the pajamas was just that. Following Tanner's report, a sketch of the man described was made. This sketch was a key focal point for the police for the next 7 years. It provided a possible timeline and also a potential visual of the suspect. However, this photo, which was shown to millions of people, turned out to be just a photo that sent authorities on a wild goose chase and down the completely wrong track. In 2013, Scotland Yard police identified the actual holidaymaker who confirmed he was the man in the sketch. He was carrying his daughter back from the Ocean Holiday Club. He even dressed up in the same clothes to prove his innocence and provided the pajamas of his daughter, which albeit were very, very similar to the ones that Madeleine was wearing. However, they were just that, very similar. They weren't Madeleine's. So basically, this sighting and this image was a massive waste of time for the police. And it wasn't just a massive waste of time, it was a massive waste of time, of crucial and valuable time, which is generally the most important stages of the investigation. Another sighting was more heavily focused on following this previous red herring. This sighting was at 10:05 p.m. and was reported to the police on the 26th of May 2007. This was by a couple on holiday from Ireland. Their names names were Martin and Mary Smith. They spotted a male carrying a 3 to 4 year old girl in light coloured pyjamas. The little girl had blonde hair, bare feet and pale skin. They said that the man looked uncomfortable carrying the child. This sighting also provided a new timeline, meaning that Madeleine had not long been taken before Kate conducted her check around 10 p.m. I'm going to wrap this video up now, guys. In my next video, I'm going to go into theories and potential suspects, old and new. I hope you enjoyed this video. It literally has taken me so long to type this up, so please make sure to put on the little bell so you can be notified when part 2 is up. And please be sure to subscribe as well. My Instagram and all my other socials are linked below, and let me know your thoughts below. I find it very interesting to see what you guys think.